Thank you to Magic Spoon for sponsoring this video. There's been a great deal of shifting and changing in the online role-playing game sector. For starters, massively multiplayer online role-playing games, or MMORPGs, are becoming increasingly rare, with smaller MMORPG-style online games taking their place instead. This has attracted a broader range of gamers overall, players who would have not otherwise been interested, at least not at that point in time. As a result, it's not uncommon for many players in the market today to be unfamiliar with some of the first MMORPGs, the ones that established the genre's reputation and propelled it to prominence, before World of Warcraft or WoW ever came out and became a household name in 2004 and beyond. Despite the fact that these titles are plainly limited in terms of technical capabilities, aesthetics, and so on and so forth, they have powerful systems, in-depth mechanics, and a strong emphasis on socialization, which is something that's still uncommon in the market today. They have earned the title of Pioneer for a reason. As a result, this video is an attempt to provide awareness and attention to one of those trailblazers who I believe deserves it. Star Wars Galaxies was my first true sandbox MMO experience, and it was the game that inspired me to start this channel in the first place, really. While I was struggling through my childhood, Star Wars Galaxies provided me with my first role-playing experiences, taught me the value of community and how to socialize, and gave me a place to stay and thrive while I struggled through my childhood. Star Wars Galaxies is the massively multiplayer online role-playing game that I believe everyone should play, or at least experience. It's the type of MMO that Yoshi P would refer to as a true MMO, due to the fact that it's a sandbox MMORPG that was built by the same developer that created Yoshi P's favorite MMO, Ultima Online in particular, created by Raph Koster. Despite the fact that it made use of the extremely lucrative and popular IP, Star Wars, the project itself was largely bootstrapped. Some of the work was even done in Raph's apartment. It took roughly a year in expansion to really touch home, with Jump to Lightspeed adding in the space portion of the game. Star Wars Galaxies was able to score a spot on the best-selling games list, where it still stands today as one of the few MMOs to do so. Star Wars Galaxies wasn't simply exceptional, it was extraordinary in every way. Star Wars Galaxies was unique not only because it was based on the Star Wars universe, but because it didn't rely solely on the fact that it was based on Star Wars. In reality, the game's design philosophy was to take the Star Wars universe and include an MMO into it, sort of like as a foundation. Consequently, it didn't rely on the iconic characters that the Star Wars universe was known for, but instead relied on your ability to imagine yourself as part of the Star Wars universe. And it's precisely this that makes Star Wars so special to those who haven't only watched the movies. Whether you wanted to be an explorer, a fighter, a craftsman, a trader, or even an entertainer, Star Wars Galaxies was the game that made all of these playstyles and corresponding professions a reality for you. In Star Wars Galaxies, you spawned in Mos Eisley with very little direction, and you're just supposed to intuit and figure out where to start. And that wasn't that impressive, really. It was something limited not by design, but by resources for the game. But what came after, the most genius part, was an accidental bit of genius. Because the game was limited in terms of what to do combat-wise, and they lacked modern things like quests at launch, the game was a sandbox and proved to be a haven for role players and non-combatant players alike. That's because Star Wars Galaxies supported you just not fighting. When you spawned in Mos Eisley, you could go down the path to become a star pilot, fighting for the Empire or the Rebels, making credits along the way. In fact, I knew a dude hilariously named Wedge Antilles on the Starsider server, the unofficial space and RP server of Star Wars Galaxies, who was literally a level 1 combat level on the ground, but was the best pilot on the server. Alternatively, you might want to nurture beasts and even sequence their DNA in order to clone them for reproduction, thereby starting your own business or entering a new market. These beasts would cost millions of credits because they could be employed for a variety of purposes, such as ornamentation, vanity, and even battle to great effect. Speaking about marketplaces, because the mechanisms were so well developed and the game allowed you to concentrate solely on trading and crafting in Star Wars Galaxies, you were able to completely ignore everything else. Each of these roles was significant enough and played an essential role in society, which was represented in the game world. Maybe you liked your life in Mos Eisley and you never left, and you wanted to work at the cantina as a dancer. Or maybe you wanted to leave the cantina and Mos Eisley altogether and go work for a private guild somewhere, and go leave off-world. You could then buff your teammates or other players, making a living in the process, something that you could also do as a doctor profession that had more of an emphasis on healing. Most MMORPGs force you to level through combat, and that's like 95% of the game. In a game like Star Wars Galaxies, it was closer to half of the game, and the difference is immediately felt. It provided a place for non-combat focused players to thrive, something that has been lacking since the game's shutdown back in 2011. Besides providing an environment for players who were not interested in combat, Star Wars Galaxies was, as previously stated, a haven for role players, and there's a few important reasons for this. The fact that it's, well, Star Wars helps because it's one of the most popular IPs out there, which make it way more, frequent to roleplay. However, in Star Wars Galaxies, having non-combat positions really aid in the role-playing process, because not everyone in the real world is a police officer or a member of the military. You need diversity, especially when playing characters that are one of a kind. Grouping together becomes critical in this situation, as it is in the process of socialization itself. It's fair to argue that when you say a game offers fantastic roleplay, you're also implying that it has excellent socialization opportunities. In terms of functionality, Star Wars Galaxies was a top-tier MMO with a mail system, animations that would trigger whenever you would say particular word combinations, for example laughing, a player character display window where you could keep your RP character sheet, among other features. Star Wars Galaxies had a wealth of systems to help with socialization and creating your very own RP character. Star Wars Galaxies was primarily concerned with player housing and varied ship layouts to assist to inject personality into the game, while also providing an astounding level of customization that, frankly speaking, has yet to be matched by any other MMORPG. Creating and running entire cities was possible in Star Wars Galaxies. These cities frequently eclipse the size and stature of NPC cities even. There's a possibility that they would be given their own starport, hospital, and even a cantina. These served as gathering points for gamers, to form groups and, most importantly, socialize. This is ultimately why Star Wars Galaxies has left such a lasting legacy, because it provided people with a vehicle through which to truly express themselves in an online world. Later on, Star Wars Galaxies would add yet more tools, such as the Chronicler system, that would aid in the enhancement of roleplay even further. To put it another way, the Chronicler system was essentially your own D&D toolset, with which you could create and construct your own missions and settings, in addition to adding more uniques and points of interest for which you could create activities, overall increasing the ability to roleplay. Giving the community the tools they needed to create their own experiences and have a good time was really the point of playing Star Wars Galaxies. You'd walk into the Mos Eisley Cantina, you'd see people speaking with each other, asking for buffs, trading, and even role-playing. And you would have thought that you were in another galaxy far, far away. You might have had role-playing stormtroopers verifying players' IDs at the door, or a dancer seeking to get hired to travel off-world. Mos Eisley was a safe haven in Star Wars Galaxies, and it was the place that I felt the most at ease despite being the place known for all the, villainy and scum and so on and so forth. There was always that sense that something was going on, that something was happening, that you were in a city, and everything seemed to be coming to life. So not only did Star Wars Galaxies manage to improve the quality of player housing, and thus player towns, but they also managed to improve the quality of NPC towns to the point that where people were opting to dwell there or adjacent to a town in order to essentially live as close to the town. What number of times have you witnessed vast swaths of land and cities being abandoned after players have completed the game's main questline? That wasn't a thing in Galaxies. It never had that issue because it made all levels of play and style of plays valid, as well as any location where you would play relevant in the game. In essence, there were reasons to be everywhere and do things, whether you were salvaging for gear, from low-level monsters, trying to loot some stems or low-priced food, or selling unusual garbage or rare collectibles. As a result, the world itself, rather than simply cities, seemed much more lived in. You might come across a blaster you're interested in purchasing and receive news that it's available on Naboo. As a result, you either would have to hitch a ride to get there, board a shuttle, or fly your own spacecraft to get there. Once you'd land, you'd then be given coordinates for where the blaster would be located, and you would proceed to that location. At that location, it'd be essentially a player-created shop, where you would find either the player or one of their NPC vendors who had been programmed to sell products to you once you've reached your destination. It was always important for the stores to be incredibly detailed and impressively imaginative in order to attract more clients, right? Because it looks pretty, the store looks good. It was from this that entire player economies were built, with some players concentrating on being the best cook, others concentrating on growing the best animals, and others concentrating on creating the most firepower. In crafting, there was a lot of variety and depth, which helped to make the world itself feel more immersive. MMORPGs or virtual worlds have become synonymous with the concept and idea of choosing a direction and playing the game. And Star Wars Galaxies was the game that truly embodied that concept, I think, the best, because on the horizon, there were always countless options to participate in. Because of Star Wars Galaxies, I owe a great deal of my love and passion for the genre, and that's why I wanted to make this video to share that love and passion with you guys. If you've had the opportunity to play Star Wars Galaxies, what were some of your favorite aspects or experiences while playing the game? Please let me know in the comments below, and if you haven't already, well, what are you waiting for? you can still potentially play Star Wars Galaxies today on the Star Wars Galaxies emulated server for the pre-CU version. That version of the game is the one that existed before the combat enhancement, prior to the new gaming experience. You can also play the combat upgrade version, which is my personal favorite because it strikes a balance between the pre-CU archaic combat but fantastic RPG features, and NGE's more formulaic RPG elements but poor combat. Make sure to take a look at Star Wars Galaxies Restoration 3. Once I get past the antiquated graphics and combat, I strongly encourage you to, at the very least, check these experiences out because they're still original and distinctive, even by 2021 standards. It is, however, the beauty of a game like Star Wars Galaxies in that it doesn't require excellent combat or graphics to accomplish its objectives, which are creating entertaining experiences and role-playing content in the Star Wars universe. And that's all there is to it for this video. Keep an eye out for my coverage of Guild Wars 1, my favorite MMORPG ever, which is next on my list of favorite games to cover. Thanks for watching, guys. Growing up, like most of you, I was a huge fan of cereal, eating the whole box in a sitting or two. But after a while I noticed almost all the cereal that you eat isn't really good for you, despite being provided as the healthy breakfast option. It's just packed with sugar and corn. That's where Magic Spoon comes in. They came out with a 14-gram protein-infused cereal with only 4 grams of carbs and 140 calories per serving. They come in 4 main flavors: cocoa, fruity, frosted, and peanut butter, but also offer specialty flavors like cookies and cream, maple waffle, cinnamon, and blueberry. So you can get the cereal you remember from your childhood memories with an actual nutritious content being offered, so you don't have to feel guilty when you eat it. It's just not health cereal either. It actually tastes good. I personally like mixing the peanut butter with the cocoa and doing a mixed bowl, which I think tastes great. You literally can feel. Alright, this has protein and like actual nutrients in it. It's keto friendly, gluten free, grain free, soy free, and low carb. Click the link below to grab a variety pack and try it today. And be sure to use the promo code nerdSlayer at checkout to get $5 off of any order. Or go to magicspoon.com/nerdslayer. And Magic Spoon is so confident in their product, it's backed with a 100% happiness guarantee. So if you don't like it for any reason, they'll refund your money, no questions asked. They also ship to Canada and the UK. So make sure to check out that link, and thank you to Magic Spoon for sponsoring this video.